The boys are currently in the market for three ghosts who can go visit the house of Sal Diamato right before Christmas and see if we can't get this man to change his ways. So if you know anybody, hit us up on the socials. Welcome back to the 10-8 round podcast, where the fuckery may abound, but we don't quit. I am Zach from Filthy Philadelphia, joined by the now rejuvenated John Boy from sunny Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Uh, John Boy, what can we say? We got a lot of fuckery to talk about today.
Yeah, I had to take a little bit to download and process what I saw yesterday. I think we're gonna hash it out. We'll see if the people agree with us. We can give our takes. We'll do our three takeaways from UFC 282 to close out the UFC pay-per-view of the year. And without further ado, you want to start this puppy off?
I do, but if you'll indulge me for just a moment,
Absolutely.
I need a minute of zen here. I need a little minute of zen. I'm gonna pop my CBD as I do every week.
Good man.
I need that kill cliff. But let's enjoy a moment of recognition. Team USA Wrestling, a mere half hour ago, sewed up the World Cup Freestyle Championship over Iran. So, cheers to Kyle Snyder and the boys. It was a tough fought battle. Team USA bringing home the gold.
It's bad to say this. I didn't even know that was going on. Does that make me less of a patriot?
I don't know if it makes you less of a patriot or just more of a casual fight fan. But it's
Wow.
one of the two, and I don't know which. I haven't.
Those are fighting words. All right.
Those
Talk
are
nice.
fighting
Talk
words.
nice to me now.
No, it's wrestling's gotten, I think, a boost in its viewership since like the flow sports have come about. Jiu-jitsu and wrestling especially have gotten boosts in their viewership, but it's so hard to keep up with all the events and stuff. But the World Cup was a good one for men's freestyle. It's a little preview of the 2024 Olympics, so all good things there. We are zen, we are breathing, we are starting our takeaways now. Takeaway number one, Darren Till is cooked. I think that goose is done. I don't care that he's 29 years old. After what I saw last night against Strickland du Plessis, he didn't look like he could put any of the tools that he did have together, and it didn't look like his time off had helped him develop any other tools. I don't know how you train with Khamzat Chimaev and you still have no takedown defense and no submission defense. I think Darren Till's cooked.
Yeah, it's weird because we're seeing something different than we're hearing, right? Like he's talking about all of these camps that he's being a part of, super, super high level grapplers, super high level strikers, and just something's not transitioning in the ring. But one thing that Dreykus brought up in his post presser that I found pretty interesting was he was like, Darren Till is not a 185 pounder. He's not strong enough to fight in this division. Basically, is plain and simple. And I think, I know that the weight cut is harsh, but I think if Till's serious about making a run and serious about being in the mix again, I think he's going to have to go back down to 170 pounds.
I
really
think that's exactly right. I mean, Till had his moments during the fight. Let there be no question about it. And Darren Till is a great fighter, right? Like he's gotten great wins in the UFC. He's fought a lot of legit guys. Let there be no doubt about it. But none of his good moments seemed to matter when Dreykus du Plessis wanted to just absolutely impose his will on Darren Till, right? As soon as he sunk in that choke, Darren Till tapped. He had Darren Till down for 4 of the 5 minutes in round 1. Till looked great for the last 60 seconds, which may have saved him from a 10-8 round. But for the first 4, he couldn't move. And he's giving the ref the thumbs up. And the ref's like, yeah, I know you're giving me a thumbs up, but you're just getting pummeled over here. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, it was like a hopefully you expend your gas tank and I can kind of recover type deal. He did look good in the second round. I noticed live odds were like minus 350. So du Plessis did look like he was kind of fatiguing a bit. But the thing with Till, man, is like it's just the left hand on the feet. I don't know if you noticed that, but it's like he doesn't throw a whole of it, like a lot more than that left hand. He cocks it back and you know what he's looking for. And it's like you got to diversify a little bit. I think the power and the size advantage at 170 was kind of his bread and butter. And he said he's going to step away for a little bit, enjoy the holidays. And I I don't know, maybe get that diet en route and make another little run at 170, because I love Darren Till. I don't want to see him go anywhere. I think he's the UFC's better off with Darren Till in it.
Yeah.
But I think he might need to take a little bit of a hiatus.
Another one, right? Because he just got off of kind of a hiatus, right? So I'd hate to see him take another one here and just waste these last remaining good years. I mean, I think for Till, and I think your point's well received, right? Either you got to go down in weight, you got to make the weight cut to 170, or you got to find something else to do, because that did not look like. I mean, if Dreykus du Plessis is just imposing his will on you for 2 of the 3 rounds, what else are you going to do in the 185 division? We've talked about it on the pod before. There are sharks in them waters, and they're getting bigger by the day. So Till needs to make a decision and roll with it soon.
Yeah, no, agreed.
What do you got for us, John Boy? What's the first takeaway this week?
This is, if you've been a follower of us in the 10-8 round, I've been somewhat of an Ilia Topuria truther. I think he's the real deal. And he kind of blew the expectations out of the water for me this week. I did not expect him to look that good in the grappling department against Bryce Mitchell. For a 145-pounder, this guy cracks. He throws with bad intentions. When Mitchell got hit, it was like, whoa, I haven't felt this type of power before. His strength, his grappling. I'm calling it right now. 2023, 145-pound champion. The end of the year is going to be Ilia Topuria.
I like that. I like that heavy call out.
Hot take? Is that a hot take?
You know what? It might be a hot take, but
Okay.
having 24 hours ago watched what Ilia Topuria did to Bryce Mitchell, I can't call it one. Right?
Yeah.
I can't call it one. Bryce Mitchell looked like a fish out of water. He looked like he was lost in the sauce for 90% of that fight. The only real good moment for Bryce Mitchell was at the end of round 1. He managed to secure a double leg and kind of leg ride on Topuria. And I thought for a second, okay, this is what Bryce needed to do, right? You need to hit him with a double, you need to leg ride, you need to take away his weapons, slowly sort of, python your way up the body, work to strangle him. And I thought maybe we were looking at Bryce being able to execute. And then round 2 came and Topuria said, nah, not tonight. This ain't your night, Bryce Mitchell. And Bryce Mitchell, for all of that I'm willing to die in there talk, that head and arm choke was in for about 5 seconds before he tapped real quick. So
yeah,
maybe you're willing to die in there, but not at the hands of Ilia Topuria.
Yeah, no, I mean, I will. That's one thing I was going to say, though. I mean, Bryce did fight. I mean, Ilia Topuria walked out of there with a black eye. I mean, Bryce Mitchell didn't. I wouldn't say he quit. I think it's more of a testament to just how good Ilia Topuria is. His grappling is super underrated, and that's fucking terrifying because how good he is on the feet.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any glaring weaknesses. He's super, super well-rounded, and he's good. He's great everywhere. Really, really scary at 145 pounds. I'm not even going to say this because in past pods, we used to entertain the PADDY Topuria. They don't even belong in the same discussion.
Absolutely not.
At all. It's two different. There's levels to the game, and Topuria does not even. It's a moot point. We don't even need to get into that.
It's a what point?
I saw enough.
It is a moot point.
It's a moot point. We don't need to see it.
Yeah. No, I posted on Twitter last night that booking that fight would be criminally negligent homicide.
Yeah, it would be.
And I'll say this, and I'm not going to stray into it because I know what we got coming up. But I also tweeted that better be the last time Paddy Pimblett calls Ilia Topuria out his fucking name, because doing so is angering a beast that you do not have the arsenal to back up. As my father would say, your mouth is writing checks that your ass cannot cash. So Paddy better mind his fucking P's and Q's next time he wants to call somebody a dirty word on stage. I'll tell you that much.
Luckily, the UFC is in charge of the matchmaking, and they will never allow that to ever happen. Even Paddy doesn't want it in the presser. He was saying, "Oh, people say top 15. I'll fight whoever." It's pretty evident that he does not want that fight, and neither does the UFC. But Toporia's got his eyes set on a title. I saw him call out Ortega.
Ooh. 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 Talking about T City?
Sign me up for that.
Yeah, that's something that will get my heart back in the game. My heart's a little out of the game right now, but that'll get me back in.
That's a juicy one on the horizon, potentially.
That's real spicy. That's a really fun fight, man. That's great. And I love to see it for Topuria. That guy's just a fucking worker in there. He's a tough dude. I mean, if he has a hole in his game, we haven't seen it yet. He's got cinder block hands. He's tough. He's quick. And then, to submit Bryce Mitchell like that's a statement piece, right? To head and arm choke Bryce Mitchell like that is a statement piece.
I mean, he big brothered him, right? It was like he's done this before to him. It was
he sunned him.
Yeah, and it's like we've seen Bryce Mitchell do that to so many people too, right? And that was kind of the thing that we were a little bit nervous of with Mitchell is his grappling is insane. He has really good grip. He's super strong on the ground. And Topuria just put that to absolute rest, man. That was an emphatic win to do it like that. So
yeah, that's the absolute right word for it.
Toporia's stock is through the roof as far as I'm concerned right now.
Yeah, I think he comes in at number 2 on the legit guys list for the 10-8 round. Number 1, obviously, is our boy, the Leech. I think number 2, after almost a year of doing these pods with you now, I think he's number 2 on our legit guys list. Maybe that's what we do for the end of the year. Maybe our Christmas episode is a top 10 legit guys list for the year.
Ooh, I like that.
I'm thinking out loud here. I'm giving the fans a little preview. We do it live. So, if you're listening, get in there, tell us if you want to see a top 10 legit guys list.
If that gets the blood flowing, let us know.
Yeah, let us know because we're down for that. You ready for number 2?
Let's hear it.
Number 2 is this is going to be a first for us. I'm gonna issue an official 10-8 apology.
Wow.
Yeah, to the fans. I'm gonna issue a 10-8 apology to the fans. At the end of our episode last week, we talked about a really enticing 10-8 parlay. Mm-hmm. I stand by the logic behind that parlay, except for one thing. And I forgot this. This was a journalistic oversight on my part. Mm-hmm. And I want to correct it for our integrity. And that is, you don't ever bet against Billy Q. And I should have put that disclaimer out there, and I didn't. So to the fans, we expect better, we demand better, we will do better than ever telling you to bet against Billy Q, because Billy Q got that dog in him. Billy Q is just an absolute dog in there, and he showed that last night against Alexander Hernandez. That was shaping up to be a good fight until Billy Q decided it was time to end it.
Yeah, I mean, you can add him to the list of the fighters that will fight for your hard-earned money.
Every day of the week.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. There's really nothing else to say. It's better's caution to go against Billy Q. We know that now. We learned from it.
Yeah.
And we persevere. We push through.
That's it. What else can we do? But yeah, Billy Q getting out there and getting it done last night in emphatic fashion. Looked really good against a tough opponent. So big ups to Billy Q. What do you got for us for number 2?
I'm actually going to audible here at the line of scrimmage.
Oh, shit.
I went in with a number 2 planned. Shout out Argentinian Dagger, Santiago Ponzinibbio. I think that deserved fight of the night. I don't know why Dreykus and Till got that. That Morano fight was fucking amazing. Talk about heart. Pay both of those men right now. But I'm going to audible to this. Jan Blachowicz.
Okay.
In a time like that, way to handle a draw, a loss, however you want to look at it, with just grace and humility, man. He says, give the belt to Ankalaev. Just what a stand-up dude. I think he might be the best role model of a UFC fighter or a UFC champion I think I've ever seen. I don't know if I'm overstating that. I know, he's not a fan favorite per se, but goddamn, did he handle that gracefully? He fought his ass off too. Shout out John Blahovic. He fucking handled that with some class.
Yeah, Jan was a total gentleman post fight. I think as he always has been, always just been a gentleman. And nothing changed last night, even after. And I know we'll get into the actual meat and potatoes of it in a second. But a total gentleman, and contrast that with, I think, the UFC, who, on the heels of a very controversial decision, a lot of
Bingo.
brouhaha, a lot of upheaval, decided to announce, I assume before either Jan or Magomed Ankalaev knew, decided to announce that because they drew, the strap is going to be between Jamal Hill and Glover Teixeira in what, January?
Yeah, as well as Anthony Smith, who was on the broadcast table, who
Right.
was originally scheduled to fight Jamal Hill. But yeah,
Right. They just took money out of Anthony Smith's mouth and then made him do the post-fight show,
yep.
which is just, I, classless is kind of the only word that I can think of for it. I don't want to overcook it. I don't want to undercook it either. To do that at a press conference after a night of a lot of controversy, to just kind of come in here and shock, I assume, at least three of your fighters with news that you didn't even have the decency to give them first. Because I was watching the post-fight show, and Anthony Smith did find out live on air that his fight had just been taken from him, and then had to continue doing the show. And big
Handled
shout
it
out.
well. Handled
I
it
mean,
well.
big props to Lionheart, who's another absolute gentleman, right? But like, how are you supposed to continue to shill for this company on their fucking post-fight show? You find out money just got taken out of your pocket live on air. You just got robbed live on air.
To be fair, I don't think that's a good matchup for Anthony Smith, but
You know what? You may be right, you may be wrong, but I mean, Anthony Smith should have been the one to have the opportunity. He signed on the dotted line and accepted that matchup. He was ready to train and go do it. He
mm-hmm.
it Whether you think Anthony Smith's a good fighter, a great fighter, or a terrible fighter, he's an active UFC fighter who signed on the dotted line. He should have the opportunity to go prove whether that's a good or bad matchup inside the fucking cage, not find out while he's doing the post-fight show as a commentator that it got taken from him. Um, I don't know. Is that a good enough preview? Is that a good enough inlay? Should we just get right to takeaway number 3, a joint takeaway?
I was trying to have a half glass full attitude, right? Try and pick the goodness out of the fuckery with Jan Blahovic, but overwhelmingly, there is a dark cloud over this card, and I think both of our third takeaway is just going to embody this. And go ahead, take it off. Let's see
Yeah,
it.
I mean, what can I say about my third takeaway except that fuckery fucked abounded last night.
Mm-hmm.
Jared Flash Gordon was, speaking of robbery being committed live on air, Jared Gordon was robbed of a fight that, let's get right here. Do either of us disagree that Flash Gordon won that fight?
The only thing that you could make an argument for was that he either won 30-27 or 29-28.
100%.
I think that would be like the only adequate take that you could even remotely bring up. Paddy did not win that fight. You can say whatever you want. The strike count shows it. The damage shows it. The control shows it.
The takedown show it.
I felt like I was like kind of in the twilight zone after he won and he was dancing. And it was like, wait, did I watch something different unfold? I mean, he got handled over those 3 rounds. I didn't think the second round was the only one where you could have flipped a coin. Okay.
Agreed.
I'll get into it a little bit more, but I mean, we expect it, right? We kind of saw it coming. Did you not? Were you surprised when you heard the judge scorecards? Really?
No, I knew as soon as it went to a judge's decision, I knew what was coming, and I just didn't want to look, right? I was under the bed, hiding under the covers, hands up like this, just not wanting to look at what I knew was coming our way. And it wasn't a close fight. It was not that close of a fight.
I agree.
Right? Jared Gordon looked good. Jared Gordon rose to the occasion, looked good. In the first round, he was letting those hands go. And, the one time that I agreed firmly with the UFC color commentary staff, right? DC said Jared Gordon cannot miss with that left hook, and he was absolutely right. He was tattooing that left hand across Paddy's face at will, right? Second round, worked in some takedowns. Third round, controlled him up against the cage for what, 65, 70% of the round. This is not even a judgment call to me. It wasn't even a judgment call. It was a decent enough fight to watch. It wasn't that exciting, but it was a firm Flash Gordon decision.
Yeah, no, it was an ass beating. I wasn't surprised by it. The one thing that did irk me though in the post-fight press conference, that was really what did it, when Dana kind of doubled down and they asked him who he thought won the fight, and he doesn't even answer the question. He says, "Oh, well, Jared Gordon fought a shitty game plan in round 3." I was just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, he
Right.
handily won round 3. Paddy said control time means nothing if you do nothing with it. But yeah, you were the one being controlled. You did nothing as well. It was one of those things where, I don't know, the integrity of the UFC. We've watched this sport a very long time. Last night was probably the most alarming, jarring, just right in your face. We don't care. We're going to just take your food out in front of you. And it was just, I don't know. It left a shit taste in my mouth.
There's almost too much to talk about, right?
Yeah.
It's almost too much of a white whale to talk about here. Let's just put in one box the actual decision, right? The fact that 3 judges who are paid to do a job did it so terribly that Jared Gordon lost that fight and Paddy Pimblett won. Let's put that in a box and
Yep.
put it off to the side. That's agreed upon. There's no
Mm-hmm.
need for further discussion. Watching it and watching the decision come in, and somebody juxtaposed it. Joe Rogan is in the cage, and when the decision comes down, Joe looks shocked, looks
Mm-hmm.
flummoxed, looks, best case scenario, disappointed in what the judges have done. At the very same time, Dana White is down there with the ding dongs from fucking Barstool and doesn't even look concerned about what the decision's going to be. He's not actually facing the cage. And when they announce Paddy wins, he like looks like, yeah, knew that was coming.
Yeah, it was a sigh of relief, if you will.
Yeah, it didn't even look like relief, right? Because he wasn't even watching the decision when it came down. His back was to the cage. Like, if you're actually wondering how this fight went, wouldn't you watch as the decision gets fucking read? He's standing looking at I think it was Dave Portnoy and one of the other, I don't know, one of the other guys from Barstool. He's just looking at them as they're
Mm-hmm.
reading the decision, like kind of like matter of fact, like, yep, there you go. There it is. And
Yeah.
on the heels of the James Krause fuckery, this is a bad look. This was not the week to do this. This is what killed boxing. And boxing has never fucking returned from it. It's shit like this absolute farcical bullshit to prop people up, to move them forward and shove it down our throat is exactly what killed the sweet science. And it will be exactly what kills the UFC.
All right. Here's one for you.
Hit me.
Doug Crosby,
Yeah.
one of the judges in the Pimblett Gordon fight. You want me to read off a couple of his decisions from this year alone?
Yes.
Andre Arlovsky, 29-28 over Jake Collier.
Wrong.
You remember that one? That was one of the worst I've ever seen.
Yeah, one of the worst decisions I've ever seen.
You want to know another one? Daniel Rodriguez over our famed The Leech, 29-28, Doug Crosby.
Wrong again.
This past Bellator fight, he had a 50-45 for Danny Sabatello over Rafael Stotts.
Rafael Stotts won that fight, by the way.
He won the fight, and Doug Crosby has it 50-45 for Sabatello. And then he scores the fight 29-28 over Jared Gordon. To say it's left up to incompetence would be one thing, but I don't even know if I could make that stretch. This is just
that.
I don't know. I smell something a little funky here, Zach. That's all I'm saying.
That right there, that fact sheet that you read out is enough to get a grand jury indictment against Crosby for fight fixing. It's
Yeah.
enough for a grand jury indictment, right? Like you should have to stand trial on fucking charges for that shit.
And I think too, we should try and take something away from this, right? We should have these. Let's come up with a little bit of a solution. These judges need to give some explanation how they're scoring rounds, right? That
Yeah.
I think that to say the very least, at least a couple sentences, a write up, okay, damage, strikes, control. Just give us something that you're seeing, because it's not even fathomable. I don't understand how you could come up with any of these scores. It's a tale as old as time, Zach. It's a tale as old as time.
But the problem is, and this is referencing a Happy Days episode where Fonzie water skied over a shark, which gives us the popular phrase, "They've jumped the shark."
Mm.
This tale may be as old as time, but they're now officially jumping the shark. This is officially unfathomable. It's unconscionable. And if you haven't taken the dark walk down social media, I've seen like 3 people that have said Paddy Pimblett won the fight. One of them's Paddy Pimblett, the other's Dana White, and the third is Dave Portnoy. Those are
Yeah,
the
and,
three
and
people
And
that
I
I've
think that's what makes it so bad too. It's when the UFC brass, the head in charge, doesn't even bat an eye to it, right? Because and this is somebody who in the past has been very outspoken, right? Remember the Dominic Reyes, John Jones? Oh,
yes.
that was absolutely the worst decision ever. So then it's like when you start to tell this tale and you start to change it up, you're doing it in front of our eyes. It's I don't know. It's getting into this gray area now. It doesn't make me feel too great. I don't know.
If Dana White had any redeeming quality, it
Mm-hmm.
was that you knew, wrongly or rightly,
Bingo.
he was going to speak his mind on the goings on of the UFC. If he didn't agree with the judge's decision, if he thought a fight or a fighter was boring, he was going to say it at a press conference. He was going to say it publicly. If he had any redeemable quality, it was that. It was that
Yep.
the man was going to speak his mind. You, as Dana White, having owned the UFC for over 20 years, I cannot be convinced that you watched that fight and walked away thinking Paddy Pimblett won that fight and you're going to go down with the ship there. So that tells me that the fuckery extra abounds here.
Yeah.
It tells me the fuckery extra abounds. It's absolutely laughable. It's a fucking shame too, right? And you brought this point up earlier, which I thought was a good one, right? Like how can you have any confidence and faith in this sport? How can you bring new money and new interest to the sport? What if you're one of the guys who had money on Jared Gordon last night? What if you're somebody who took a flyer on Jared Gordon, thought, I think he's going to get it done? Watch that fight, getting ready to cash in your win slip at MGM, and you find out fucking Paddy won it? I'd never, if I was a gambler, and I'm not, I'm a fight fan, but if I was a gambler, I'd never watch the UFC again. I would think this is not a safe bet for me anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, just look at it. Look at it in Jared Gordon's position, right? Jared Gordon, super stand-up guy. Um, Charities, great advocate. He loses his win bonus, man. He's
Right.
laying his life on the line. He loses half of his paycheck. Fuck the gambler right now, right? The fuckery is going to abound with everything. I think you should know that going in. It should be a disclaimer. But I mean, you're screwing these guys out of hard-earned money here. So something needs to be done for the fighters to assure that the fighters are getting a fair shake, is what it really boils down to.
And Jared Gordon, I mean, this is a hard luck, hard scrabble, feel good story, right? This
Yeah.
guy overcame drug addiction,
Yep.
overdoses. I mean, this is a guy who really, really pulled. This is what you look for if you don't do it anywhere else. If you like hard luck, come from behind victory stories, you can find them in the sport of mixed martial arts. Guys who came from nothing, guys who had struggles in their life, they found this sport, they used it to channel their rage, and they became something that they would not have otherwise had a chance to be. And I don't know that there are many people who you could say embody that better than Jared Gordon, who overcame a drug addiction and is now fighting in the UFC on the co-main event of the last pay-per-view of the year. And you're gonna fuck him like that?
Yeah, I mean, you're lifting the veil on like the money operation, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
matter how hard you work or if you're going to get a fair shake or not. It comes down to following the money. And it's a sad truth, but the UFC just they're leaning into it a little bit too much. And I don't know. We'll see if there's a backlash. We'll see if people respond. We'll see pay-per-view sales if they go down. It'll be interesting to kind of see how they come back from it. I'm sure that they will, but something needs to be done.
I'm sure that they will. I hope that they don't. This is not a fun place. I think just stripping it away for a minute. It's not a fun place to be if you're a guy like you or me who's a lifelong fan of this sport. Because I'm now rooting against the UFC. I'm rooting against their success because if you're gonna fuck a guy like that, and this isn't fucking tennis. This isn't fucking, a less physical, less demanding sport. No offense to any of those sports, but this is a sport where on a bad night, you're getting a ligament snapped, you're getting a bone broken, you're getting a concussion that leaves you chinny for the rest of your life. I mean, the risk is extremely real in this sport. And if you're going to fuck a guy who's willing to put his body on the line in a chain link fence against another man, I got to root against you. You're not the hero in this story at this point. I can't root for you. So I'm sure they'll bounce back. I'm sure the Nelk boys will continue to shill. I'm sure Barstool will continue to shill for the UFC. I'm sure it'll bring in a whole bunch of other casuals who will spend their money on this product. But as of right now, December 11th, I'm not rooting for the UFC. There's a lot of UFC fighters I love and I'll root for them, but I'm not rooting for the organization. I'd rather give my money to another company, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, and it's not that it falls on it's not that it falls on Barstool and it falls on Nelp, right? They're running a business, right? They're an operation to be profitable, but you can't have Dana White go in a press conference and be like, "What do you want me to do?" How about not fucking have a fight in the Nevada State Athletic Commission? How about holding out? Like there is shit you can do. Don't say you can't do anything because that's absolute bullshit. And I think people are starting to see that, even the casual fans. And I think this is the most blatant he's ever been with it. Maybe he's getting older. Maybe he's getting burnt out. He could just, the shit doesn't stink anymore. I don't think it hasn't stunk for a while, but he's really leaning in now. Yeah, man, it'll be interesting. It's not a great look though. It really isn't.
It's not, especially not on the heels of you going on Paddy Pimblett's podcast, right? Like, because I don't know many other fighters who Dana's showing up for their podcast to record an epi with them. But he shows up to Paddy's podcast, and then the week later, this absolute monstrosity of a decision comes out, and you don't have the courage of you, Mr. Outspoken, doesn't have the courage to say, yeah, it was kind of a shitty decision.
Yeah.
I mean, that was all you had to say, right? I mean, that would have probably put all of this to bed if Dana White, as the face of the UFC, would have just gotten to the post fight and said, yeah, that wasn't really a good decision. Maybe we'll run it back, or we're going to give Jared Gordon his win money anyway, which they did for Alex Morano, right? That was deservingly so. Alex Morano got his win money last night, deservingly so. If you would have gone to the press conference and said, yeah, we're going to give Jared his win money too, or yeah, that was kind of a bullshit decision, we'll find another fight for Flash Gordon, something, it'd probably be a much different narrative right now, because you're right. Barstool, Nelk, the other companies that kind of orbit around the UFC, their businesses. You can't, if it hurts their bottom dollar, you can't look to them for integral honesty. But from the face of the company, who has prided himself on being Mr. Outspoken, if you can't be honest, then what are we doing here? You want to talk about the other possible controversy that occurred last night? We might as well, right?
Yeah, right. Jan Blachowicz, Magomed Ankalaev.
Jan Magomed fought a pretty good fight, all things considered. Ended in a split draw. So one judge scored it for Jan, one scored it for Magomed Ankalaev, and then Sal D'Amato, I believe, was the judge who gave it a draw. And then immediately, they were kind of pushing that this was a controversy because Magomed Ankalaev had won the last 2 rounds in very convincing fashion, probably got a 10-8 round in the 5th round. Let's do it the same way. Did you feel that was a controversial decision?
I thought Magomed Ankalaev won, right? Anytime 17 of 18 MMA media judges have it one way, I usually don't think that's, an anomaly. I don't think that 17 of those people were watching something differently. I think Magomed did win. Was it as heinous as the Gordon Pimblett decision? Absolutely not. Yeah, Jan was chipping away with the leg kicks early on, but Magomed persevered. He realized he was a Dagestani wrestler a little bit late, but I mean, I don't know why he didn't employ that game plan early on. But hey, I mean, even Jan said it, right? Like I said to open up, Jan gave him his flowers. He said, this man deserves a belt. He won the fight. I think Magomed was the rightful winner. I've seen way worse, but at the same time, I think give Ankalaev the fight with the winner of Glover and Hill, and I think then you'll hash that out. I think that makes it right in turn.
Yeah, look, we talked about this off air a little bit. I also thought Ankalaev won the fight.
Yeah.
I probably would have said Ankalaev won the fight, but a reasonable mind could tell me that it was a split. And that was what Jan said. Jan was like, I don't think I won the fight. I don't know if I lost it. I'm gonna have to go back and watch it. And that seemed like Jan acknowledging the last 2 rounds of the fight, right? And round 5 was a 10-8 for Ankalaev. But if you give round 1 to Jan, round 2 and 3, I thought were pretty firmly Jan's, and then 4 and 5 were Ankalaev's with a 10-8 in the fifth. That is a draw, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mathematically, that is a draw. And I think if you as a reasonable fight fan, if you came to me and said that, I'm not going to be blown out of the water. I'm not going to be like, how could you ever say that? It's fair. It's fair. I don't agree with it. I think Ankalaev did win it, but it's not a robbery. It's not controversial.
In comparison to what we saw, yeah.
Right. Exactly.
We're setting the bar really fucking low, though.
It's a really low bar. It is a really low bar, but the UFC will manage to limbo under it, I am sure, as they did with PADDY Flash Gordon. Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot else to say about Blachowicz, Ankalaev, except that if nothing else, if there might be a takeaway here for anybody who's going to fight him in the future, Jan may have exposed a chink in that armor. Leg kicks may just be a problem for Ankalaev, because I got to tell you, it looked like in the third, if Jan was able to get off 1 or 2 more leg kicks, it looked like Ankalaev was not going to be standing anymore, and Jan was going to get a 3rd-round TKO. But obviously, Ankalaev dug deep, survived. I mean, there was that moment in the third where he kicked the leg, and Ankalaev stumbled because he just could not take another shot on, I believe it was his right leg. He had to switch stances a number of times. And then you're right. He remembered, oh, shit, I'm from Dagestan. That's right. I have a genetic predisposition to wrestling really well. And he did. And he held Jan to the ground and beat him up and went for subs and moved around. And it was great. But yeah, any other night, we probably would have spent so much more time talking about that main event, but for the co-main just completely ruining it.
Yeah, the last 2 fights were an absolute debacle.
Well, John Boy, heard a rumor. UFC's got a card this weekend. Should we talk about it? I guess that's what we do, right? I guess we talk about UFC fights, so let's talk about it. A decent card. We can get right into the main event.
Decent card in the Apex. We got a little bit of Crazy Eyes Sean Strickland versus Jared Cannonier.
Yeah, Jared Cannonier, Sean Strickland. This should be a good one.
That's a good fight.
That is a good fight. I'm interested to see that one.
Where do you think this one's lined at?
I'm going to say I think that Strickland is the favorite.
Slight.
Yeah.
Minus 120. It's in that even territory where it's really a pick 'em, flip of a coin.
And I think that's fair.
I do too. I think Strickland's the better technical fighter, really, really good pressure, but he keeps that chin up in the air. And Jared Cannonier is a guy who could end the fight at literally any moment. That's what makes this fight just really exciting, because you just don't know what's going to happen. Fuck, man. I'm torn here. You have a lean? I want to hear what you got.
I'm honestly leaning Strickland, and I'm not happy about it, but I think Strickland's going to get it done. I think he's just going to come out a little bit of a man possessed. He was kind of riding a high before he was derailed by Alex Pereira. I think he's going to be looking to get that one back. and I think Cannonier is maybe leveling out a little bit. I was at the Adesanya fight in July. He had his moments. Jared Cannonier is a great fighter. He had his moments. Um, but with his wins and losses, I mean, I think Strickland should get it done. How about you? How are you leaning?
The thing that scares me with Strickland is just the stubbornness, right? Where
Yeah,
he's not going to change his game plan when the opportunity presents itself. He's going to keep his chin up there. He's going to forward pressure you, and he's just going to beat you down and overwhelm you. And Cannonier's, he's a counterpuncher, right? He loads up on that right hand,
right.
and that's kind of where he makes his money. So for that reason, it scares me. I would lay off of it personally,
Yeah.
and just sit back and relax and enjoy the show. But as a 10-8 official pick, I'm going to go with Sean Strickland as well.
Yeah, and I think you're right to lay off of it, right? I think that's sort of, that's sort of the what do you do when an immovable object meets an unstoppable force kind of a question here, right? Sean Strickland is a stubborn, go after you, throw big shots kind of a fighter. Cannonier's a counterpuncher. So it's going to be a race to who can get their stuff off first. Is Sean going to overwhelm you and knock you the fuck out? Or is Cannonier going to pick his shot while Sean's charging in and drop him? And I
Yeah.
think for that reason, I don't think I would touch it. I think it'll be a good fight. I think it's got the potential to be an interesting one, but I wouldn't touch it. Not with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah. A little too volatile for me.
Yeah.
Strickland's a little chinny too. I
As we learned.
know Pereira is a different animal, right? Pereira could make, Mark Hunt look chinny probably, but I've seen Strickland get chin checked a couple of times where it's like, Cannonier, man. It's a good fight. It's a good fight.
Well, I think I'm excited a little bit for the co-main as well.
Pomian's
Arman
good.
Sarukian coming back to the cage, taking on Damir Ismagulov.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That's a really good one.
Arman coming off of that tough loss to Manny Gamro, which was, I don't think that was a controversial decision, but I think it was a really good fight.
It
Where
was.
Arman Sarukian for a big portion of that fight was looking real good. So I'm interested to see him get back in the cage, and this is a test for him.
Yeah, this is a good fight. Gamrot losing to Beneil Dariush makes that a little bit more interesting for me
Yeah,
personally. Just because the trajectory of Gamrot goes down a little bit. Sarukian's been kind of one of those guys that everybody thinks is a huge up and coming prospect. This will be a real test though, because Ismagulov is very, very good. You got an idea where Vegas has this one lined up?
I think Vegas has this lined up for Sarukian.
You'd be right. Minus
Yeah.
200. He's a 2-1 favorite.
I think
Um,
rightfully so.
yeah, I think he should get the job done here, but I think there's a lot of pressure on him here. I think this is a must win in terms of being like a legitimate guy, a legit guy, as we like to coin the phrase.
Yeah, to keep your status.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree.
Exactly. Exactly. The glimmer and the shine will start to wear off if you lose this one.
Yeah,
Um, but nonetheless, it's going to be a good one. Both guys are legit guys.
yeah, both guys are legit guys. And Ismagulov, 12 of his 24 wins are by knockout. So he's got some hands. So
It's a
it's
good
gonna be a
fucking
tough
card.
one.
This is a good card.
This is kind of a low key good card, so it should be an interesting one. Next one coming up, Amir Albazi versus Alessandro Costa. It's another
Yeah,
good.
it's a good fight. I'm surprised it's this high up when you look at
Yeah,
some of the other fights on the card. Yeah, I think it's a good fight. I think Amir Albazi is an up and coming guy who's impressed a lot of people. He's a big old favorite. I'm not even going to get into it because he's a big old favorite. I think he's the biggest favorite on the card, minus 460. I haven't seen enough from Costa to where I'd be confidently backing him. So I think the UFC knows what they're doing with this one, and they're going to try and ride the trajectory of Amir Albazi and kind of put him up in the upper echelon of the division.
yeah. Amir Albazi, I believe, is a pretty big wrestler out of Sweden. I think he's got a lot of good ground game. I believe he's got a lot of wins by submission.
Yeah.
Uh, and then, Alessandro Costa, good record, 12-2 record, good record, but he wins a split decision on Dana White's Contender Series. I believe is not given the contract after the split decision win and goes back to fighting in the LFL, the Looks Fight League, where he won his last fight in October. But I think you're right. I mean, I think this is an opportunity for Amir to kind of maybe put some tread on the tires here, put another tick on the resume.
Yep, builder. This is a building blocks fight, I think, for Albazi.
Well, we get now to a moment of
Ooh, this is a little bit personal here.
We get now to a moment of moral confusion.
Mm.
This is rough. This is rough for us. We got Alex Caceres taking on Julian Erosa.
Juicy J.
Now, any given day, for me, this would be an easy one. I'd want to ride with Caceres. Now, that's not talking about favorites or whatever, but, from a personal standpoint, I'd want to ride with Caceres. However, for our newer listeners to the 10-8 round, I had an opportunity to meet Alex Caceres earlier this year at a Fury grappling event. We really hit it off. We talked about our favorite anime from the 90s for about 2 hours.
It's adorable.
It was very adorable. We also met Clay Guida and his dad at the same time. The whole thing was really adorable. We had Steph and Jay Bish, two big fans of the 10-8 pod, were there with me, including our legal department. So it was a great night, a lot of fun. And I said to Caceres at the end of it, I said, hey, you could tell me to go fuck myself. But are you willing to come on the pod? Would you like to come on the pod? We've hit it off. We've established a friendship. I'm not throwing this out of left field. Like, we've been talking for 2 hours. And he said, yeah. So let's do it. He says, send me a DM. So I did. I sent him a DM. I said, hey, man, we'd love to have you on. Love to talk about timing. Left on red. He left the 10-8 round on red. And I haven't recovered. I'm going to be honest with you. I have not recovered. I've taken it very personally. I've taken it real hard.
Yeah, man. It's one of those ones where you got to hang up the Alex Caceres poster on the wall, and every single morning just use that puppy as motivation, baby.
Yeah, I'm doing sit-ups looking at a poster of Alex Caceres,
Fucking bingo. That's the only way to respond, baby. Get back in the saddle and work a little bit harder.
I think Erosa, if I know you're gonna ask
me beat me to it, go for it.
I think Erosa is a favorite here.
You're right. He is minus 175. Caceres plus 145.
Interesting.
It's interesting, right? Caceres is a veteran of the game.
Yeah.
He's got a very average record, but his quality of opponent is there.
Yeah.
He's fought the who's of the division. And Erosa's he got knocked out. He was out of the UFC for a little bit. He's made a little bit of a comeback. He actually beat Paddy Pimblett, I believe, on a lower regional circuit a while back. I think that's true. You can fact check me on that. But this is a good fight. This is a good fight. And just so you know, he did beat Paddy Pimblett via unanimous decision. Yep. So look at that. Judges have gone against Paddy Pimblett before. His last 3 fights, a submission win over Air Jordan via Bravo choke. That's a big win, yeah.
That's a big win. And then he recently had a UD over Hakeem Dawodu, who's not nobody. So,
Hakeem Dawodu, that's a killer, man. That's a killer.
Erosa might be rightly the favorite here.
I think he's the rightful favorite, but Caceres is weird, right? Because Caceres is weird. He's one of those guys that fights down to the level of his opponent and then fights up to the level of his opponent. So it's like you don't know what version of him you're going to get. He's a vet. He's literally a veteran of the game.
Yeah.
My official 10-8 prediction, I'm going to side with Erosa just because I think the ceiling's higher for him. There's no bad blood, Caceres. No bad blood. I'm just going with kind of my gut here. How about you? I really want to hear your pick on this.
You know what? I'm gonna put aside the bad blood. I'm gonna put aside the hurt feelings, but I am still gonna ride with Juicy J.
Yeah.
Um, I think he's got the toolbox to get it done. Juicy J, great grappler, a lot of submission wins. 12 wins of his 28 were by submission, but he's also got 11 wins by knockout. So this is a guy who's got, multiple levels. This is the Craftsman Deluxe toolbox here. This is a guy with a lot of levels. And Caceres has been submitted 7 times,
Yeah.
right? So he's been submitted quite a bit. So I think Juicy J gets it done here.
Tough one, man.
Caceres, if you're listening, if you want to come to the table, you want to break bread, we're ready for that conversation. We welcome it. We're willing to put beefs behind us, after a conversation. So, go in there. Best of luck against Juicy J. We wish you the best. And when that's over, maybe in the new year, we bury the hatchet. We'll move on. That's what I'm hopeful for.
Very mature of you.
I'm a mature guy, John. I think that's really what I think has shown through in this 9-month existence of the 10A podcast is how mature I really am.
Yeah, no,
Pretty-
that's definitely my takeaway for sure.
That's what it is. Well, we got an absolute heater right after that. We got heat right after that. We got Drew Dober taking on mean Bobby Green. This is a fun one.
This one wakes me up right now.
It's a fun fight.
If for the real diehards in the UFC, the real fans, this in the apex in a small ring. Whew, Drew Dober, Bobby King Green.
Yeah.
I love both of these guys.
Yep.
Every time they're in a fight, I'm tuning in.
Yep.
So this is just fireworks that they're fighting each other. Who do you think the favorite is here?
I think the favorite is Drew Dober.
You'd be right.
Yeah.
Minus 155.
I think rightfully so, but you lock Bobby Green in a small cage and tell him to kill the other dude. I mean, you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah, this is one of those fights where it's like you could just bet on the underdog because for the value and it's going to be entertaining.
Right.
Bobby Green's not going to take this to the ground.
No.
Drew Dober could take it to the ground, but something tells me he's not going to.
No.
And man, Bobby Green can box, man. He is a slick fucking boxer. He really is, but so is Drew Dober. Holy, this is my favorite fight on the card. This is fight of the night written all over it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so torn on this one. I don't want to pick it because I don't want either of these guys to lose.
I know. I love both of these dudes. These guys are both just dogs for the sake of being dogs, just fighters for the sake of being fighters. Bobby Green, who's been around forever, back when the UFC was doing their very early 2000s graphics introducing fighters, they used to list fighting styles, jiu-jitsu, wrestler, boxer, whatever. Bobby Green's style was listed as street. That was his proficiency in the octagon, was street. So if you've been watching the UFC for a while, chances are you're a Bobby Green fan. And chances are you're a Drew Dober fan, right? I mean, these are just two exciting guys to watch fight. I'm probably, I don't know. I think I have a lean on it, and then I talk myself out of it. I don't know. I'm probably leaning Dober. But at the end of the day, I just want to sit back and watch this one. I don't want the stress of having to pick a favorite. I just want to enjoy this fight.
Yeah, this is one of the ones I'm not even gonna make a pick.
I don't want to.
I don't either. I can already see both of these guys after an exhausting 15 minutes holding each other's arms up because of the absolute war that they're going to endure. That's just the type of fight that this is going to be. A dog fight, man. An 100%. Absolute dog fight. I'm going to lay off of it, but do not miss this one. Best fight on the card by far.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's completely fair. As we get down a little bit lower here, I don't know. We got some Nurmagomedov blood on the card. We got some Jake Matthews on the card. We got some Brian Battle, Ultimate Fighter alum, on the card. What do you like to talk about here? What gets your fancy?
Jake Matthews, Matt Semmelsberger.
Yeah.
That's a fun fight. I love Jake Matthews here. I
Yeah,
really, really do. You have an idea who the favorite is in that one?
I'm gonna say I think Jake Matthews should be the favorite.
Minus 240,
Okay.
Semmelsberger plus 200. Um, that's if I had to make a play on the card, that would be by far my favorite one. I like Jake Matthews a lot. I think this is a really good matchup for him. What Semmelsberger is good at, his bread and butter, Jake Matthews is better at it. We've seen a ton of improvement in Matthews' striking game.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I love Jake Matthews here. That's like the one where you like scroll down the card that sticks out to me, like, oh, Jake Matthews is going to get that done.
Yeah, I think that's fair. My my heart tells me I want to root for Semmelsberger, Semi the Jedi, only because he's from crazy 88 MMA down in Maryland, not far from Philadelphia. We get a lot of those guys who come up to Philly to cross train with guys in Philadelphia. So, it'd be good for the regionals if Semmelsberger got the dub. But I think your read is absolutely correct. I mean, I think Jake Matthews should handle business here.
Yeah, I think it's too much. I think Semmelsberger's kind of getting ready to cross that threshold
Yeah.
of real legitimate guys who really have title aspirations on their mind.
Yeah.
And Jake Matthews is one of those guys. I mean, he used to be Australia's like guy. He was the golden boy
Yeah.
before the Volkanovskis came into play. He was the guy, fell off a little bit, and he's starting to really string together some wins, make a comeback. So yeah, I like Jake Matthews a lot there.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the right read on that one. What else you want to talk about? Who else you like here? You want to talk about Brian Battle?
I don't even see the Brian Battle fight listed.
He's fighting Renat Farkatayev.
And that was on this is a late notice replacement. That's why.
Oh, okay.
He wasn't supposed to fight him, so that's why I don't see it and it's not listed here. But I don't know enough about the opponent. Battles proved me wrong time and time again. So he's one of those guys I don't know if I want to bet against.
Yeah.
Um,
He proved me 100% wrong in his last fight in August. I was high on the Takashi Soto train against him, and I was 100% wrong.
yeah, he looked real good there. Yeah, he looked real good in that fight.
He starched him with a head kick.
Yeah.
Starched him. Yeah, and was coming off of a win before that over Trayshawn Gore, who
Mm.
maybe now that's not as impressive, but when they fought, Trayshawn was the guy that the UFC had hyped up that they thought was going to be the big name coming off the Ultimate Fighter was Trayshawn Gore. They thought he was going to be somebody who was going to do a little thing or two, and Brian beat him. And before that, Brian Battle had actually, kind of had to go into the UFC because of the weirdness at the end with the finale and everything. He had to just go into the UFC and fight Gilbert Urbina, who he also beat via rear naked choke. So I think Brian Battle might be one of the guys who's an Ultimate Fighter alum who might actually have a little bit of a higher ceiling than we originally thought.
Yeah, that's
He seems,
fair.
he seems like he's growing a little bit, and I think a head kick knockout over Takashi Sato is huge on his resume.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm looking to see what Brian can do here. I'm looking to see what he can get done. I'm interested to see what Battle's got.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, the Kakramanov. Ooh. The Kakramanov Saeed Nurmagomedov, that's a fucking juicy fight.
that is a juicy fight.
That's a really juicy fight. That's a sleeper if I've ever seen one.
Yeah,
It's a good
yeah.
fight.
We got Nurmagomedov blood stepping in the cage
It's a good
against
fight.
Kakramanov. Yeah, that could be a good one.
That's a good one. I'm trying to pinpoint anything else to keep an eye out for. Cheyenne Vlismaz now, it used to be Cheyenne Buys, is fighting Corey McKenna. Corey McKenna had a lot of pre-hype. Cheyenne, she's a little feisty one from what I've seen inside the octagon and heard outside of the octagon.
I was gonna say, are you talking about inside or outside?
We'll stay what pertains to the inside of the octagon right now. I like her in that fight. I think McKenna's a little overrated. Cheyenne's got a little bit of bite. I'll take Cheyenne in that one.
Yeah, so Cheyenne has not been in the cage in all of 2022. She actually hasn't fought in over a year. So it'll be interesting to see her come back in the cage and see if she's working on anything. Um, Obviously she's, a little bit of a new identity. But yeah, I think that's the right read. I like Cheyenne here. Corey McKenna's, 1-1 this year. She, submitted Miranda Granger, lost to Elise Reed via split decision. I don't know that she's anything especially special.
Young
Uh,
girl, young girl.
yeah, win over Kay Hansen.
Yep. OnlyFans
Uh,
Kay Hansen. Shout
yeah,
out
only
Kay
fans
Hansen.
foot model Kay Hansen. So yeah, and so but um Corey McKenna is another one who had kind of a long layoff, right? She beat Kay Henson and then was off for a year and a half before coming back to fight Elise Reed, losing to Elise Reed, and then fighting Miranda Granger. So I'm not really moved by Corey McKenna. So yeah, I'll ride with Cheyenne just because I know who she is a little bit better.
Yeah, we won't get too much in. I think we covered this fight night to a decent amount, but just some other fights to keep an eye on. Darren Wynn, Daniel Cormier, training partner, long time back, is I don't want to say his protege, but one of the guys DC took under his wing. He's fighting Julian Cuban Missile Crisis Marquez, who's a fun one. He made his appearance on Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series. David DeVrock and Manel Kopp.
I was
That's
gonna
fun.
say Manel Kopp is on this card, and that deserves mention.
Yeah, and same with David DeVrock. I mean, he's a beast as well. That's
Yeah,
a really good fight. That's a fun one. Cody Brundage, Michael O. There's some decent ones. Journey Newsome, Sergey Marazov. This is a low key sleeper fight.
it
Fight
is.
card. I really think so. I think you'll tune in. If you tune in with low expectations, I think you're going to have a solid night.
Yeah, this is one of those ones, right? I mean, if you want to put a couple of fun bets in, you want to put a couple of spare change bets on the night just to keep you engaged. I think you're fine to do that, and I think we've steered you in the best direction we can. Shit. I mean, if you got nothing on, if you're out Christmas shopping all day, the kids are fucking nagging you. You're about to crawl out of your fucking skin. You're thinking, I got to do something here. I got to change the trajectory of my holiday season. Belly up to Miller's Ale House. Admire the Christmas decorations they got in there. Order yourself a couple of garlic parm boneless wings. You
Ooh.
know, maybe get yourself a couple dark and stormies with it, and enjoy the fights with the official 10-8 sponsor, Miller's Ale House.
Tell them we
Miller's,
sent you. Tell them we sent you.
when the fights are on, you better be at Miller's.
God damn.
I cannot believe we haven't been sued yet for that.
I need to get on Reels and I need to just clip that right there.
Yeah, once a week we need to clip our official promo for Miller's Ale House, and I'll tell you why. One of two things is going to happen.
Mhm.
Either we're going to get a cease and desist letter from Miller's Ale House, and
I think it's going to be that. I don't even need to hear option two, but
it's
yep.
probably going to be that. But option
Yep.
two, when you wish upon a star, right? When you go after your dreams, I don't know. Maybe we get some. Maybe I can replace my Bass Pro hat with a Miller's Ale House hat. Who knows?
A wise man once told me if you shoot over 40%, that qualifies for the Hall of Fame right there, baby.
That's right. That's a Hall of Fame career right there.
Shoot or shoot. That's what it
And
comes
those
down to.
words have stuck with me in every facet of my life.
Love that.
So you tell the boys from Miller's 10-8 round sent you. I don't know. You wanna touch on? Oh, I feel like we took such a big step forward previewing this card.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna take a step backwards. But did you see Dave Portnoy and Justin Gaethje are beefing on Twitter?
Yeah, that kind of came out of left field.
I've never felt more strongly that this just just pull up and handle your beef.
Yeah.
Pull up to Colorado, Dave. Call Justin Gaethje out his mouth and meet him in the parking lot, and let's just see what happens.
Yeah, now that is something I would pay $74.99 all day. I'll pay $174.99 for that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say this as because I think Gaethje is a little bit more level-headed, perhaps, than some of his counterparts.
Ooh.
But can you and Barstool's a little bit, I think, new to the
Gaethje and level-headed were not something I'd ever put in a sentence. I thought I'd hear in a sentence, but here we are.
here's why I say it. Here's by
Okay.
comparison why I think Gaethje's level-headed is
Okay.
because I think that's where this beef will stay. But can you imagine Portnoy tweeting this at one of the Diaz brothers?
He's getting slapped up, is what you're trying to say?
What I'm saying Nate Diaz will come find Nate Diaz will find you and smack you backstage. Like he'll smack that the Patty wig off your head. Like I don't think Gaethje will do that. I think Gaethje's enough of a pro that the Twitter beef will stay in the Twitter sphere. But 2014 Nate Diaz, he's showing up at your crib, bro. Like he's gonna throw a water bottle through your front window.
Yeah, I don't know if it's more of like how big of a star you are, right? And Nate and Nick don't need shit from nobody, so it's on site with them. But I
It's
feel
the
like Gaethje's been in the limelight. Gaethje's is a top dog. I don't think he needs the money that bad. So I don't know. I don't know.
Look, I like some of the content that Marshall
Oh,
puts out. I
you know what
enjoy.
just you know what just
Oh,
came to my mind?
what?
I already found the fight to book.
Who?
Gaethje Pimblett.
Stop it.
What, 155?
Stop it.
155 Gaethje Pimblett. It's the barstool fight of the century.
Patty's head would be hanging above Gaethje's fireplace. That's ridiculous.
Isn't
Justin
that wild?
murder him. He would murk him. That's
the,
silly.
the more and more I think about, I forget that Patty's in that division too. That division is, oh my god. Could you imagine him fighting Dustin Poirier?
I can imagine it. Yeah. I can imagine it because I've been on YouTube and seen Google worst ass kickings ever, and I've seen examples of it.
When that train gets derailed, it is going to be a violent derailing.
And this is the thing, right? And this is what really keeps me squarely at the station when the Paddy train pulls in looking for new passengers to hop on. I stay squarely at the ticketing booth for this reason. Every time Paddy wins, he wants to celebrate, he wants to dance, he wants to teabag, he wants to do that weird little nipple rub thing that he does, talk about how he won the fight handily, all of this stuff. When it comes time to call people out, he's always just a little bit cagey. I don't ever hear Justin Gaethje come out his mouth. I don't ever hear Dustin Poirier come out his mouth. Interestingly enough, I've never once heard him call out Ilya Topuria. Keeps me off of that fucking train. And maybe that's the segue that we need. Because I know you and I maybe have alternating opinions, but maybe that's the segue we need to the last little bit of news this week. If there's anyone who's enjoying their flowers right now, it's Ariel Helwani. I mean, you just know he's sitting at home with an ear-to-ear grin right now.
That pisses me off a little bit too, though.
And I see from the coy look on your face that you've got a feeling about that. So I wanted to give you a forum to get that out. Let me hear it.
Here's what I'll say. I don't like to kick a man while he's down, right? And the popular thing to do 24 hours ago was to be on the Paddy bandwagon. And now that everything happens, he hits some adversity. Now the general public and everybody, the cool thing to do is pile on Paddy right now. It hurts to say this, but it makes me kind of want to root for Paddy because everybody's hating on him so much. I don't know, just something about it being the cool thing to do. I don't know. I don't really like that. We shit on Paddy a lot. I shit on Paddy a lot. The one thing I will say about Paddy is he really doesn't give a fuck what anybody thinks. And that post-fight presser, he's drinking a fucking Coke, eating a peanut butter cookie, and he's been getting shit. I'm not saying it's the right thing. I'm not saying he's legit, but I can admire when somebody doesn't do something just because everyone says it's the right thing to do. Right? There's differences, and it's a situational thing. I don't know, man. Anytime I'm agreeing with Ariel Helwani vehemently, it scares me. That's all I'm going to say. If I'm full-blown Ariel Helwani, I'm like, wait a minute. I got to step back, reassess, and sleep on this one. So with that being said, let's hear what you got to say.
You know what? Here's the thing, right? Here's the way. Any other time, I'm 99% likely to agree with you. I don't agree with Ariel Helwani. I'm often not the biggest fan of the content that he pushes out. I'm often the guy who roots for the underdog that's getting piled on by people. These
Yeah.
are all things that I usually find myself squarely in the camp of.
Yeah.
This seems to be one of those outliers for me. This is that outlier situation for me. So I am for once in my life, I am welcoming Ariel getting his flowers. You go ahead and take a bow. Make your tweets as shitty as you want to make them, as arrogant as you want to make them. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
Mm.
Because Paddy was never the underdog here. No, Paddy was the favorite child, right? He was the one who started all the shit, and when he got smacked down, went running to dad and got you in trouble. That's who he is, right? He had
I
he
wouldn't
had
go
the
that far.
boss. I'd
Okay.
go that far. He had the
Okay.
boss, had Dana White on his podcast,
Yeah.
where they, apropos of nothing, for no reason other than the two of them just kind of wanted to do this. They wanted to shit talk. They wanted to run their mouths. Decided to shit talk Ariel Helwani. This wasn't news. This wasn't a recent event. This wasn't germane to any other part of their conversation. There was no reason for it. They just wanted to have a common enemy, so they shit on Ariel Helwani for really, I think, no reason. Ariel, for all of his flaws, and who does his homework and keeps his receipts, and came on and actually played the voicemail of Paddy calling him, hinting that he wanted to come on the show. And Ariel had to go on and defend himself. And I'm never, if Dana White is on your side of some weird beef, I'm usually not on your side. And then after all of that, to then go out there and win the worst decision possibly in UFC history and act like you just won a belt, dance around, went on the post-fight show and talk shit about how he knew he'd won the first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Nope. I don't want to be on Ariel Helwani's side any more than this guy does, but in this limited instance, I am, and I'm heart reacting to every one of his tweets for the next 48 hours.
I would want to agree with you, but I saw a clip of Ariel Helwani saying, "If you come at the king, you best not miss." And when somebody who looks like Ariel Helwani murmurs those words, there's a part of my brain that goes off that goes, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. You are not that guy. You are not that guy, Ariel. You are not that guy. You're a good journalist. You ask good questions, but stop acting like you want the smoke like that. But I get it. He's defending himself, but don't play that. Don't play like the bad boy card, Ariel. You don't want that. That's all I'm saying.
And that is a fair measured response. If you're gonna quote Omar from The Wire, you better have Omar from The Wire energy.
Thank you.
And Ariel does not have Omar.
Those are fighting words, Zach.
And you're absolutely right. But at the same time, in the same breath, and I don't even know if you could stomach the post fight interview. I did watch it.
The Paddies.
Yeah. And Paddy got on. The first thing he said was he was trying to make a joke about getting paid for the Joe Rogan interview, trying to take another shot at Helwani. And it fell fucking dead flat. It fell flat like a lead fucking balloon.
Yeah, I missed it.
He's trying. I mean, truthfully, the ironic part of this is after all the bad mouthing he did for Helwani being a clout chaser, Paddy's trying to chase clout off Ariel's name right now. Which, first of all, if you're trying to chase clout off of Helwani's name, bro, I can't rock with you. And you know what? For once in his life, Ariel kind of is the bad guy. Ariel's got a little Chael Sonnen in him. He's got a little Chael P, a little American gangster in him. He's feeling those oats a little bit.
Without the resume.
Well, without the resume. But you know what? Go ahead, Ariel. Go ahead. You're the bad guy today. Go ahead. You're the American gang. You're the Canadian gangster today. Go get him. Fuck Paddy Pimblett. Fuck Dana White. Fuck that bullshit decision. All hail Jared Flash Gordon. All hail Helwani for the next 48 hours until I've moved on to something else. But fuck that nonsense. Go ahead, Ariel.
Tell us how you really feel.
I'm a man that likes to mince his words a little bit, John Boy. You know I play it close to the chest. I'm very reserved with what I like to say here on this show. So I'm not going to say any more. I'm going to keep it reserved as I usually do. You got anything else for this week?
I think that does it.
Well, then more importantly than anything else, especially with the holidays coming up, 10-8 family, call your mother. Tell her you love her. We out.
Peace.